The 1990s were packed with unforgettable toys and games that defined a generation. There was the toy that caused a holiday stampede. What about the toy that sparked a government ban for spying? Then there are the collectibles worth big bucks today, and those that turned out to be a bust. So join us as we uncover the magic, madness, and mayhem behind the top toys and games from the 90s. Elmo, creating Muppet chaos. This Muppet went from Sesame Street to the toy shelves and became an instant sensation. Tickle Me Elmo would shake and giggle when squeezed, and this little fellow had manufacturers laughing all the way to the bank. In advance of the Christmas shopping season and selling out at a rapid rate with a 1996 suggested retail price of $29, or about $58 today, the massive demand for Elmo had scalpers taking advantage of the holiday hit and reselling Tickle Me Elmos for thousands of dollars after the fact. Meanwhile, the Canadian release saw a Walmart employee trampled by stampeding shoppers, causing him to get a concussion and a broken rib. While Tickle Me Elmo's scalping and stampeding were no laughing matter, it also proved you can't put a price on Christmas cheer. By the end of December 1996, every last box of the 1 million Tickle Me Elmo units produced had officially been sold. Furby. Toy or secret agent? Just 2 years after Elmo took the toy world by storm, another Muppet-like toy stole the hearts of 90s kids everywhere. Furby. Physical fuzzballs with beaks and big eyes, they had a motorized electrical system of gears that allowed Furbies to move their eyes, mouth, ears, and even their feet to bust a move. But the big selling point was that Furbies could talk and were seemingly smarter than their oddly cute looks made you think. Out of the box, Furbies only spoke Furbish, a gibberish language, but over time were pre-programmed to gradually switch from speaking Furbish words to speaking English words. This gave the impression that they were not only learning, but also listening. And when those rumors grew, a few folks were freaked out by what they heard. Fearing Furby might perk up its mechanical ears and record confidential conversations, the NSA, or the U.S.'s National Security Agency, had them banned from their headquarters. Even though 14 million Furbies were sold in 1999, it turns out not a single one was eavesdropping. Or were they? Totally Tamagotchi. Cute and cuddly critters are great and all, but this 90s toy set the stage for the pocket-sized digital obsessions of the smartphone age yet to come. The Tamagotchi didn't send emails or play iTunes, but the handheld game with simple graphics was just as common to see in people's hands as an iPhone or Android today. The phenomenon appeared on store shelves in 1996, and 400,000 little alien eggs were sold in that first year. By the next summer, more than 10 million would be moved, and by the fall of 1998, sales numbers eclipsed 13 million. The convenient keychain design made Tamagotchi extremely portable, attachable to bags, belts, and backpacks, and, of course, fitting comfortably in pockets. The limited pixels pumped out big fun, and the addictive gameplay kept going well past the end of the 90s. In the 21st century, individual Tamagotchi unit sales reached almost 84 million by spring 2021. Pogs ruled, then they didn't. This classic toy/game/collectible quickly became a schoolyard craze when first released in the early 90s. The direct origins of Pogs have been lost to urban legend over the years, but the consensus is that the original version started in Hawaii sometime after the turn of the last century and was played with cap liners from milk bottles of the day. The modernized version of stackers and slammers eventually grew beyond the islands, though, and became a global phenomenon of collectible discs emblazoned with every imaginable brand logo, sitcom star, cartoon character, sports athlete, or comic book hero, or just about anything else whose image could fit on a cardboard circle. The playground pastime fizzled out quickly, though, due partially to a saturated market, as well as schools banning them across several countries due to the similarities the game had to gambling. Beanie Babies, big bucks or big bust? Do you remember Patty the Platypus? Were you pals with Pinchers the Lobster? Those are a couple of the original 9 Beanie Babies released in 1993 that went on to become a stuffed toy sensation. The babies were filled with tiny bean-like pellets rather than old-school stuffing like typical plushies. But the bare-bones designs and lack of interactive features meant nobody wanted them. That is, until the toy company cut production or outright retired several babies, suddenly making them scarce and collectible. The beanies became the first viral sensation of the young internet, with the toy company's URL printed on each baby's tag, as the company created the internet's first business-to-consumer e-commerce website in 1995. eBay launched that same year, and Beanie Baby resale values rocketed. At their peak, Beanie Babies resale auctions accounted for as much as 10% of eBay's sales, with those little beans raking in big bucks. Today, not so much, apart from a select few that can still be worth some serious cash. Enjoying the 90s fun and think this video is da bomb? Then be fly and raise the roof by smashing that like button and subscribing to Now and Then. Now back to the toy aisle. Jenga, the Tower of Frustration. This game towered over the competition, literally. This was a board game without the board. Instead, miniature rectangular wood blocks are used in a stacking competition. Jenga's debut in the late 1980s gave it enough time to build momentum before it took over the 90s. Removing and stacking the blocks higher and higher was the goal, with the fun and frustration coming from the whole thing crashing down on family game night. No matter what that kid at school might have told you about stacking a million layers, Jenga's official website states the world record is 40 complete stories with 2 blocks into the 41st. Jenga has left most of the crashing and smashing behind in the 90s, though, with mobile gaming versions being released for iPhone in 2010 and Android in 2011. Super Mario 64 – Gaming goes high-tech. Mario and Luigi might have made their debut in the 80s, but it was the 1990s where the dynamic duo would make their biggest leaps. And we're not talking about that jump button. The original NES console had its American rollout in 1986, and the Mario Bros./Duck Hunt cartridge made it an instant hit. A decade later, Mario would again revolutionize home entertainment with the Nintendo 64 and its flagship game, Super Mario 64. The 1996 arrival gave gamers their first open-world 3D gaming experience, as well as introducing the Lakitu camera that allowed players to view the immersive world from 360 degrees and catch the actual gameplay from every angle. Popular enough to sell $140 million worth of cartridges in its first 90 days, or $278 million adjusted for today, Super Mario 64 rolled right into the new millennium and sold nearly 6 million copies by 2002. Pokémon, from cartoon to Game Boy. A three-pronged attack of cartridges, cards, and cartoons, Pokémon hit the jackpot in Japan before hitting American shores in 1996. A syndicated animated series hit North American TVs in 1998, and Pokémon the First Movie followed in 1999, while the Pokémon trading card game, from the same company that produced Magic the Gathering, also debuted in 1998. But it was the digital domain where we first learned to catch 'em all. The 1996 release of the Pokémon Red and Blue role-playing games for the Nintendo Game Boy became a schoolyard sensation, selling 4 million copies of Red and Blue combined by the end of 1998, and carrying on that momentum to become the best-selling game of 1999 by adding another 6 million to the total that year. Pokémon cards. Cashing in by catching 'em. A couple years after the video game release, Japan's Pocket Monster sensations came in a more convenient card form. The first demo packs of Pokémon cards hit American shelves in 1998, with larger base sets following in 1999. The Jungle expansion pack followed that summer, and the Fossil expansion in the fall of '99. And both kids and collectors alike couldn't get enough. Highly collectible and worth plenty of cash, Pokémon cards led to plenty of playground pushing and shoving, with thefts and controversies eventually leading to cards and binders being banned from schools. Still a hot commodity today, a 1999 Charizard sold for $420,000 in 2022, breaking the old Charizard price record of $399,000. That same year, YouTube star Logan Paul set the overall record by handing over $4 million and a rare Illustrator Pikachu card for an even rarer, higher-grade version of the Illustrator Pikachu. By spring 2021, more than 30 billion total physical Pokémon cards had been produced, even through the digital era of Pokémon Go. Super Soaker, splash hit of the summer. This is a toy that kept 90s kids entertained, even if it wasn't quite a top seller of the decade. Summers in the 90s were always wet and wild if you had a Super Soaker. Introduced in 1990 as the Power Drencher, it didn't take off until a year later after a name change. And over the course of 1991, more than 2 million Super Soakers flew off the shelves. The Super Soaker XP Extra Power series carried on the mantle when the original lineup was retired in 1996 and kept us soaked throughout the rest of the decade. Nerf, blasting the fun. For the kids who were tired of being told to take it outside so they didn't break a lamp, Nerf was the solution. Around since the 1960s, Nerf perfected its soft foam technology with the creation of the Nerf ball and Nerf football. But adding the combat element took things to another level with the Nerf Sharpshooter Foam Dart Blaster released in 1992. The line defined the decade with all kinds of variations that fired arrows, balls, and discs that, thanks to Nerf's patented reticulated polyurethane foam projectiles, kept the fun relatively safe. Magic the Gathering, not a disappearing act. The late 90s taught us we gotta catch 'em all. But before Pokémon cards were all the rage, this trading card game was casting a spell on the marketplace. Collectible trading cards had existed for decades, featuring sports stars and pop culture icons. But Magic the Gathering was an interactive game that could be played with cards. A sword and sorcery fantasy concept, Magic's strategic gameplay first hit store shelves on August 5, 1993. A deck of cards retailed for $7.95 at the time, or about $17 in today's bucks, and was such a smash hit that the entire initial run of 10 million cards was sold out in 3 months. By the time the calendar turned to 1995, Magic the Gathering had sent more than 1 billion cards to market just to keep up with demand. The game continues to be popular, with Magic the Gathering having approximately 50 million players worldwide as of 2023. Wanted, 90s video games and consoles. While modern gaming has surpassed the innovations from the 1990s, it seems those classic consoles never went out of style. Original functioning Nintendo and Sega consoles are now highly sought after, while sealed copies of N64 games like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time also fetch a price higher than any rupees from Hyrule could ever be worth. In the summer of 2021, a sealed copy of Super Mario 64 was sold to the highest bidder for $1.56 million at auction. Tapping into the retro gaming demand, Nintendo released the miniaturized NES Classic Edition in 2016. And the Mini Super NES Classic Edition a year later, with the Sega Genesis Mini hot on their heels in 2019, bringing the low-tech fun into the high-tech era of flat-screen TVs and HDMI cords. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega creates a rival. Today's audience might know the blue blur better from its live-action movies, but way before the 2020s, Sonic was racking up rings in 90s adventures, predating Pokémon or even the N64. The 1991 intro of Sonic the Hedgehog bolstered the Sega Genesis as a true competitor to the then Nintendo-centric home video gaming market, with a sassier attitude and speedier gameplay than his rival mascot, Mario. Becoming Blockbuster's most rented game of 1991, the success even spawned a 1992 animated series where Sonic was voiced by Jaleel White, also known as fellow 90s sitcom icon Steve Urkel. But the spirit of competition can divide or unite. And by the 21st century, the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series saw the two former rivals finally join together in the same game at the same time. Even if the kids of today might look at you funny if you mention a Pog, and nobody would believe you if you told them that Beanie Babies were at one point replacing retirement plans, there are a few 90s brands with enough of an impact that they're still going strong 3 decades later. We've got more nostalgic now and then videos with that modern twist, so stay right here to keep on watching.